All right, let's talk about something most people don't like to admit out loud. You finally get the raise, or the new job, or the extra income stream. For a moment, it feels like relief is coming, like the pressure is about to lift. And then, it doesn't. The stress is still there. The worry is still there. Sometimes it even feels worse. And you start wondering, quietly, what's wrong with you? Because making more money was supposed to fix this, right? I want you to imagine this. You're sitting down at the end of the month, checking your account. You're earning more than you used to. On paper, things look better. But your chest still tightens when bills are due. You still hesitate before opening your banking app. You still feel like one unexpected expense could knock everything over. And that thought creeps in. If I'm making more money and still feel this stressed, what happens if I don't make more later? That's a scary place to be, and if you've ever felt it, you're not alone. Most of us grow up with a very simple story about money. Stress comes from not having enough, so the solution must be having more. More income, more progress, more success. And on the surface, that makes sense. Money does solve real problems. It keeps the lights on, it pays rent, it buys food, it gives options. But here's the part we don't talk about enough. Financial stress is not just a numbers problem, it's a psychological one. And when we treat it like a math equation only, we end up confused and disappointed when the stress doesn't disappear the way we expected. This isn't because you're bad with money, it's because money interacts with the human mind in ways most people never explain. Why more money often fails to bring peace. Let's slow this down. When your income increases, three things usually happen at the same time. First, your responsibilities grow. Your lifestyle quietly expands, not in dramatic ways, but in small, reasonable ones. You move to a slightly better place. You eat out a bit more. You upgrade things that were temporary for years. None of this feels irresponsible. It feels like progress. Second, your expectations change. What once felt like enough now feels fragile. You're not just trying to survive anymore. You're trying to maintain a standard. And maintenance is stressful. Third, and this is the part most people miss, your perception of risk changes. When you were earning less, your life might have felt unstable but simple. Now there's more to lose. More bills, more commitments, more pressure to not mess things up. So even though your income is higher, your nervous system doesn't relax. It stays alert because the brain doesn't care about how much you earn. It cares about how safe your life feels. And safety is emotional, not mathematical. Think about this. If you make $30,000 a year and your life costs $29,000, you feel trapped. If you make $80,000 a year and your life costs $78,000, you also feel trapped. Different numbers, same stress. The stress isn't coming from the income, it's coming from the lack of margin. And margin isn't just extra money, it's the feeling that you have room to breathe. The role of lifestyle creep, without the judgment. A lot of people hear this and immediately think, so I just need to spend less. That's not the point. Lifestyle changes aren't the enemy. They're often healthy, deserved, and long overdue. The problem is that most lifestyle upgrades happen automatically, without intention. Your spending adapts faster than your sense of security. And because it happens gradually, you don't notice the trade-off you're making. You're trading long-term calm for short-term comfort. Again, not because you're careless, but because you're human. The brain loves immediate relief. It struggles with abstract future safety. So we optimize for today and then wonder why tomorrow still feels heavy. Why financial stress is sticky. Here's something that might sound strange at first. Financial stress often lags behind financial improvement. You don't feel better the moment your income goes up. Sometimes you feel better years later. Why? Because stress is shaped by memory. If you've spent years worrying about money, your mind learns to stay alert. Even when the situation improves, the habit of worry remains. It's like living next to a loud road for years. Even when it quiets down, your body still flinches at every sound. More money doesn't automatically retrain your nervous system, it just changes the environment. And if the internal system doesn't change, the stress stays. The turning point, a different question. At some point, usually after a few raises or career moves, people hit a quiet realization. They think, if this level of income doesn't make me feel secure, will the next one? That's the turning point. Because that's when the question shifts. Instead of asking, how do I make more money? You start asking, what actually makes me feel safe? And that's a very different question. For some people, safety comes from predictability. For others, flexibility. For others, knowing they can handle emergencies without panic. Notice how none of those are about income alone. They're about control, margin, and confidence. Money as a stress regulator, not a cure. Here's a useful way to think about money. Money doesn't cure financial stress, it regulates it, just like sleep, or health, or time. You can earn more and still feel exhausted. You can earn more and still feel anxious. You can earn more and still feel behind. Because what matters isn't just the resource, it's how it fits into your life. If more income comes with more obligations, more expectations, and more pressure, it won't calm you down. It just raises the stakes. A simple example most people recognize. Imagine two people. One earns more, but every dollar already has a job. Rent, car, subscriptions, family support, lifestyle costs. There's no space. The other earns less, but has fewer fixed commitments. They can absorb a surprise expense without panic. They don't feel watched by their own budget. Who feels calmer? Usually, it's the second person. Not because they're better with money, but because their financial system has slack. Slack is what reduces stress, not income alone. So what do you do with this? First, stop using income as the only measure of progress. Ask yourself quieter questions. Do I have breathing room? Do I understand where my money goes? Do I feel one mistake away from panic or one surprise away from inconvenience? Second, focus less on optimizing your life and more on stabilizing it. That might mean slowing down upgrades. It might mean building a small buffer before chasing the next goal. It might mean defining enough for this season of life, not forever. Third, separate self-worth from income growth. This is hard, especially in cultures that equate success with earnings. But if your identity is tied to always earning more, peace will always be delayed. You'll never arrive. You'll just keep running. Why this realization is actually hopeful. Here's the good news. If stress were purely an income problem, most people would be stuck waiting years for relief. But because it's also a psychological and structural problem, it's something you can work on now. You don't need to double your income to feel calmer. You need clarity, margin, and trust in your system. Those are learnable, and they compound quietly, just like money does. If you've been telling yourself, I'll relax once I make more, I want you to hear this gently. You're not wrong for wanting progress, but peace doesn't automatically arrive with a higher paycheck. It arrives when your life feels manageable, when your future feels flexible, when money stops feeling like a constant test you're afraid of failing. And that kind of peace is built slowly, through awareness, through intention, through small, thoughtful decisions repeated over time. You don't need to fix everything. You don't need to rush. Progress doesn't have to be loud to be real. Sometimes the most meaningful financial improvement is simply feeling a little less tense than you did last year. And that's more than enough to start with.